Hello and good evening and welcome to The Truth Behind the Truth. Absolutely. We got some truth to talk about this week.
Yes.
We definitely do. Facebook family, welcome. YouTube family, Instagram family, UK family, and TikTok family. Thank you guys for taking the time out to tune in and be a part of us tonight. As we normally come to you, we're so excited about being with you on our regular basis every week at this time. So thank you once again. We do also want to remind you to share, like, please. All right, we need to get these numbers up. Y'all know who it is. Everybody beg you to share. Next week we'll start begging y'all for some money, then we'll pay for it. Okay?
Like they do these bots.
I know, right?
We gotta get our own bots.
Right. We're gonna go now to GoFundMe. We're gonna go get us some money. That's what we're
that too. Yes.
We got Cash App numbers, so in case y'all want them. All right. You got 3 Cash Apps right here. You can send money to. All right. So Harold got one, Parnell got one, we got one. Okay, and I think our silent partner got one too. So the money can come in all directions. Just get sent it. All right. But anyway, again, we want to thank you guys. And I hope you guys had a phenomenal week. And again, we're excited as always to be with you, sharing a little bit tonight. We're gonna we did have a guest this particular week, but some technical things happened and whatever. So that particular guest will not be with us at this point in time. But anyway, we want to have a wonderful new guest coming with us next week, an author, young lady. I apologize, I don't have her name handy, but she will be with us next week. Maybe we can look up before we get to the end of the show over with. Next week, she was a punk rocker, and she took her punk rock and became very influential, I think, in the African American community. And from what I understand, she has a book that's out, so we'll be talking about that next week. But so she'll be back. She'll be with us, next week, and then the week after that, our dear fair sister Cheryl K. Ford will be back with us talking about her book as well. So Cheryl's coming back. So excited about having that, and then we've got some other great stuff going to conclude the end of the year with you guys. All right, so we're excited as always. So get your cup of coffee, get your wine, whatever it is, whatever else y'all do while you're watching the show, get it ready. All right.
Well, we definitely got ours.
Right. Okay.
So I know what y'all drinking. What is that you're drinking, D? What is that?
A little mosquito.
Mosquito. Okay. All right.
Hey, Susan.
Little mosquito.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes, a little sweet mosquito. Let's just call it that.
Okay. All right.
So we're going to be in hot topics tonight, guys, and we're going to kind of be like in different spots. We got a little religious talk. We're going to talk about that mess that was going on in the court system this week. I know Parnell's got something. We're going to talk about Will Smith this week. So we got a lot to share with you guys this week. So get ready, get your pen out, get ready to learn something. All right. But anyway, before we go to break, guys, how you doing, Harold? How you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal. I'm happy to be back with you guys. I was watching you guys last week.
Yes.
I had a little emergency, a dental emergency.
Yes.
But I'm back.
Well, you're glowing this week, so obviously it worked pretty well.
Okay.
Got my teeth fixed.
Right. Okay. You feel better now, right?
I feel better. I feel confident now. I feel like I'm with myself again.
That is good. That is good. So how's sales coming? I saw you weren't naked this week, so sales must be doing pretty good, right?
Oh yeah, it's not the first of the month, so we're
Okay,
good.
see, there you go.
That's all hilarious. Oh, hey, Nakia. Thanks for joining us.
Hey,
That's the
Nakia.
queen.
Yes, indeed. And I want to say that real quick. Thank you for pointing out. Nikki, thank you so much for your support and coming on board with Truth Behind Truth, because she has actually supporting us. She's actually putting more word out there about Truth Behind Truth, helping us get our numbers up,
Yes.
So, maybe, girl, I need to talk to you offline, and then we need to put you over our social media part or something, But we'll talk about that. But for what she's done for us, thank you so much. I mean, getting us and believing in us to get on board. Thanks to Parnell bringing her on board and having that relationship with her and introducing us to her. So thank you, Parnell, for doing that. And definitely, Nikki, thank you for what you're doing for us. We really, really appreciate it so much. Parnell, how was your week, baby?
It was good, man. It was amazing. I did a reading of a new work by Larry Powell called Eddie's Love that was happening. And it was just such a powerful experience to have all these very, very talented brothers come together and put out this production. And it's kind of like, I can't wait to see it fully mounted and financed, with the full cast and sets and all that good stuff and presented. Because I think that's one of the things that I love so much about being an actor is being able to tell these stories and to present that information and just that feeling of live. And it was just great to be in live theater again, with the audience. It was awesome.
I like how he said it. When he said it took the moment to say it, he's being an actor. it's just what I'm being an actor. I love it. I love that.
When will this presentation? When will y'all start the show? When is the?
Well, it was. This one was welcome. It was part of the New Works Festival at I Am a Theater Company.
Okay.
And so they have a week of new works that is being presented, and so ours was last night.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was just amazing, and just having the reaction of a live audience there, and especially predominantly Black audience. You know how we are. Like, oh Lord, no, he did not.
All that feedback,
but it's great when the audience gets involved like that. That they really get involved with the story. So who knows what will happen next? With it. But it was just a great experience to have this week to just be able to bring art to life again.
That's good. I like you're articulating it so well tonight. It's like I can hear the proudness in your voice, like art to life again.
It's the theater. It's the theater.
I love it. Excellent. One thing I want to point out real quick, I felt to mention earlier. Now we are live on Instagram now through our producer, through What Radio. So Instagram family, welcome to you as well.
Oh, wow.
So we're expanding that. So we're actually on 4 platforms, and on individual pages too. So which is even beautiful, So we're all out there in different ways, guys. Hey, we are our own network now. Okay. We love it. But anyway, before we dig into the hot topics tonight, we're gonna go to a quick break. We'll be right back after that. We're gonna talk some shit for everybody tonight. All right, we'll see you guys in just a minute. Hello and welcome back. Guys, thank you once again for tuning into the Truth Behind the Truth tonight. As I've said all the time, we are always so excited to have you guys being a part of what we're doing, changing the face of humanity, allowing everybody to find their authenticity, letting them know that they're enough, and making sure that you tell everybody it's not, what is it?
It's not my job to make you
Not my job.
comfortable with my life.
My life, absolutely.
That's right.
So it ain't gonna be our job to make y'all comfortable with this conversation we're about to have on our topics. Okay.
Oh my.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Put your seatbelt on. Okay. Get ready. Get your fan. Whatever you need.
How many drinks did you guys have already before the show came on?
Just a sip.
I am kind of loose, so
Oh,
to be honest with you, I think at this
Uh-oh.
point I'm still trying to figure out which camera I'm supposed to be looking at,
Okay.
and I think that's where.
That
Okay.
camera.
So listen, if it does look like that, then I might be trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be at. That's just us being on the opposite ends. I'm usually on this side.
You're on the
but okay,
opposite side, so.
yeah. So, all right, let's keep moving.
But anyway, so let's dig in real quick. Parnell, did you see any of the trial this week with that idiot, that fool, that one that went through the Black Lives Matter shooting up folks?
Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah,
Ugh.
I saw a little bit of it, and I'm joining in the rallying cry of all those people. Like, man, miss me with them crocodile tears. I don't believe it.
If he had tears that came out of his eyes that were crocodile.
I was really trying to get into my Oscar mode for a moment. I was trying to give you an interpretation. As we saw that,
painful to watch. It
like,
was a very painful moment to watch because he just couldn't get. I just was like, okay, now what is the purpose of all of this? I mean, to be honest with you, he didn't shed a tear when he killed the guy.
Well,
I mean, at the end of the day, it wasn't them tears weren't that authentic to me. And then there were no tears. There's more pouting and more stuff coming out, foaming at the mouth.
Right.
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm just really aghast at the fact that his
exactly.
yes, I'm just aghast by the fact that his mom is not in this situation,
Right?
as well, too, for driving him clear across state lines to
Right.
do what he did.
Right.
I feel like at the end of the day, they, where are they going to let him go? Which I'm dead bent on that happening because
so?
the judge is very one-sided with this. He's a Trump supporter because his phone went off. With the Trump theme song going off. So
wow, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it wasn't widely reported, but it's been on social media. So you can never, what's not on mainstream television
Right.
is definitely on social media.
Right.
You don't miss too much of, if you have a phone there.
Right.
But the fact is, I just feel like at the end of the day, this is just the whole entire thing is just absolutely just ridiculous the way they allowed this, the way they're portraying this boy as almost a victim of doing what he did. And
Right.
I'm so sorry, that's just not the case.
Right.
If you can have a gun in your hand, doing at least at that time of the night, he was only 16, 17?
He was 17.
17? What was the point of him being out there in the first place?
Well, that too.
That in itself is where the parents should be held accountable, at least the mother.
True. Well, number one, why was he there? Okay, because number one, he wasn't there for the purpose of the Black Lives Matter movement in the first place. He wasn't there for that purpose. So his intent was actually to do harm in some sort of way.
Oh yeah.
I think that unfortunately, his situation is that he did not get to the people of color that he was trying to get to shoot in the first place. I'm just gonna put that out there. You know what I'm saying? Because why would you come to a Black Lives Matter movement situation with an AKA unless you were planning to do some serious harm? But somebody recognized that. Thank God that person recognized. Unfortunately, this person lost their life in the process of it, but recognize it to save, the life of other people. Because his intent was probably to do like what's that dude that did that down in Charlottesville or whatever, with that.
With the car. With
the car. But even that, but you know what I'm saying. So it's unfortunate that he was allowed to do that, as you stated. His mom bringing him to that situation as well. I mean, it's just crazy.
Child neglect.
Well, oh my gosh, that was another thing we're going to talk about tonight. But go ahead.
So for those of us who don't have TV, and can you give us some context? What happened?
Go ahead.
Okay, it was a situation that happened some years back. Well, not years, but it could have been somewhere around was it the 2020 this happened?
2020. Yeah, I think it was last year.
Last year, because it was happening through all the protests that was going on around the George Floyd situation. And what happened was, and y'all, please, this is where I might get the story on loose, but there was a protest that happened here, not here in LA, but it was out there in where he was.
Right, go ahead.
But what happened was there was a protest, and for some strange reason, he got up the gumption to want to go and protect businesses from rioters during the looters during the midst of this protest. So him and a bunch of other people who had AKAs and guns were out there protecting a business. And sure enough, there were some rioters that came down the street. They noticed them and started taunting them and mocking them. And sure enough, this one person, for some strange reason, had said something or threw something, and then all of a sudden a gun popped off. And he ended up slaughtering the men close range because it's on video. Yes. So, and all of a sudden he turns himself into the police, but the police, and mind you, he had the gun in his hand. He went walking towards the police with the gun in his hand, and they didn't even shoot the man.
Right.
They just didn't.
How old did you say he was 16?
He was 17 at the time. And this was last year in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
right. Thank you.
And the fact that this boy could absolutely walk down the street with an AKA and in front of police, in front of tanks.
Right.
Didn't even arrest him.
Right.
Didn't even have him put his hands up or none of it.
Right.
And it's just that in itself is like it spoke a lot. It spoke a lot of volumes. And to be honest with you, it's speaking volumes in the courtroom as we speak.
So true.
Because they're not really they're not holding this boy accountable for anything except the prosecution.
Right.
Which had him crying those fake tears in the first place.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Looking like a petulant child.
Right.
Yes.
It was interesting because there was a video of this, like, I guess, a black Trump supporter, which anyway, but a footage of Kyle walking towards the police, with the AR-15 strapped on his back, with his hands up, and he's trying to make this point. Well, if he was so guilty, why would he try to turn himself into the police? And it's like, because he knew he was safer with the police than with the crowd that was there that was trying to disarm him, of that rifle. And so that's the whole point, that all with the defense trying to defend his actions is like, again, one, he's 17, he legally has no right to be carrying an AR-15. You have to be 18 at least. Two, it's not, he doesn't even live there. So his mother drove him 4 hours to get to Wisconsin. So again, there was just, so all this stuff of like, well, I was defending myself. And he said that, well, the owner of the store that he was afraid were being looted asked him to come. And the owner was like, no, I didn't. Keep my name out of that. I did not ask you to come down here. So it's such an example of white supremacy and protecting whiteness is what's going on again. It's like, rather than clearly just going and saying, look, you're guilty, you lied, you did illegal activity, you killed people, and you can try and say, well, it was self-defense. No. You can't go somewhere, shoot people, and then when people try to take the weapon away from you, claim that you were defending yourself. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well, I think that one of the things, and we'll move on to the next of this, that there's such an opportunity for this vigilante spirit that has happened in America here lately. I mean, and for the NRA being behind this. I'm sorry, NRA people, I like it, but you got to agree that you created these monsters.
And they're still out there.
Oh yeah, gosh, yeah. I mean, these monsters. I mean, at the end of the day, about this, and it's ridiculous that we are allowing this to happen. I mean, it says to me what typically, as we would always say, Middle America, is doing, to keep this type of activity going on, because they don't want to hold people accountable, but yet they want to be able to carry their weapons and everything else, with unscathed, as I would say. changing that subject, but in the same area, which moves us to the conversation about what's going on in Georgia in the trial of Ahmaud Arbery that's going on right now. You know, a total vigilante situation. You know, at the end of the day, you know, and the justification, trying to make the justification behind that. You know, at the end of the day. How in the world, especially in this day and time, this is not the Wild Wild West, but this, you know what I'm saying, that this day and time, you feel the right, the right, and as you said earlier, partner, the supremacy thought pattern, but you feel the right to go up and shoot somebody because you thought they were, even if you're just on the property, not supposed to be on the property, that's still give you the right to shoot somebody. You know, at the end of the day, and then lie about it. But you know,
but it's just it's that part of the country that still holds on to those values that, you know, the law is always going to be on their side. And the fact is that in this situation, one of them was not a sheriff, but he was a police officer, wasn't a commissioner, retired. And the fact that he felt he had every right to gun down this guy who was just running wherever he was running to. You know, and the saddest thing about this situation, and not too long ago they were in court, and the defense lawyer actually stood up in court and told the judge that they were not allowed, they could only have one black pastor in the courtroom. They didn't like the fact that so many black pastors were sitting in the courtroom with the deceased family, and those pastors included Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. I thought, my God, are we still living in the past? And yes, we are, because there are people out there who still believe that regardless of time, regardless of any type of progressive change, there is still a certain tradition that should be held bent to where it needs. And we're talking about Georgia here.
Right.
We're talking about parts of Georgia, like Forsyth County, and all these people all these places that if you go out of your way to go do something, you need to understand that there are still these places that are still hold dear to the past. They like tradition. They like the fact that there are not a lot of us that stay in these communities, and that we should be kicked out. And this community in this particular community is the same type of community, because he was literally walking. Supposedly, he was walking into a house that was not all the way built, they finished, and they found some type of threat in him being there in the first place, which tells you that this is not the community that I'm just saying that they didn't want us to be a part of. Right. But okay, you know.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean,
but he stood in court and said, I don't like the fact that there's so many black pastors that are sitting in this courtroom with the deceased family, which that resonates with me a little bit about racism. Racism. And then religion on top of that. I mean, why black pastors? Why didn't you just say pastors? But the fact that you put black, you emphasize black pastors, that tells me that I'm just saying, people who go to church, you better wake up to this.
He said what he meant. He said what he meant.
Right.
Still there.
Absolutely.
To the same God, correct? We serve the same God.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Some of us say the same God. I don't know. Some people say something else. I don't know what it is. But
you better wake up to it.
I know. No, well, you know what I'm saying by that.
You better wake up to it.
Some of us serve the same or worship the same God. But some of them, I don't know what they worship. You know, at the end of the day, I'm telling you. But I said I'm going to get tonight. But I'm gonna pull the rain back just for a minute. Okay. I'm gonna pull it back. All right, Harold, I'm gonna use your part. Okay. Go ahead, Harold.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Will Smith series. Have you guys seen that? He did a 6-part series talking about getting into the best shape of his life. But the series really has been, I think, kind of therapeutic, even for me watching it, because he gets very vulnerable. And it's just, it was so like refreshing just to see a black man be so vulnerable and really connect. This persona that he said he's created called Will Smith was really a result of his childhood trauma and him trying to be accepted, because he said he never felt accepted. So he created this character, and And so much of his trauma was rooted in his dad, it was really a parallel thing. And one hand, he admired his dad, and the other hand, he hated his dad because his dad was physically abusive toward his mom.
Wow.
And Will, being the oldest, he felt a responsibility that he wasn't able to protect his mom.
Wow.
And he said all of his life he had been trying to please people and gain the acceptance. And I totally can relate to a lot of what he was saying, because that really, was my reality because of the trauma that I experienced. And I think oftentimes we just put aside childhood trauma. We don't talk about it. We just act like, we just move on. And that stuff really affects us in our lives in ways that, again, we're not even aware of. It attributes to the habits that we have. It attributes to how we see ourselves. And oftentimes we don't know why we keep self-sabotaging, or we are not living our fullest potential. A lot of that is rooted in, trauma that we just don't talk about. So it was like really refreshing just watching the series to hear him talk about that and how it impacted him. Even though he has been at the pinnacle of success, this stuff has still been a factor in his life.
Right. Well, you touch on a lot right there. I mean, in traumatic situations, and then, I know we attempted to kind of go into trauma a little bit affecting men when we were doing our barbershop, shows, again, and guys, that if you didn't see the barbershop shows, you really need to go back in the video archive and take a look at it. Yeah. And we're going to continue that series a little bit later on, because when we start pulling layers back of men, it's just like women, at the end of the day, there's so many layers that we need to pull back and exposed. But speaking of trauma, Harold, it unfortunately, and I think this is just men straight across the board. Of course, it affects Black men differently because we react to it differently, and we have to be on guard in so many areas. You know what I mean? By our trauma, at the end of the day, because if we expose the trauma in the way that we want to, it becomes a very angry, perspective, and we can't express it. We can't even share the tears. We can't talk about it, in different arenas. But back to what you're saying about that, the traumatic experience for men is just bad. At the end of the day, it really is, and I just kind of want to kind of speak to that, if we can, maybe some personal stories real quick, maybe you can share, a couple of your personal stories of what you saw and how that had you navigate your life, from not necessarily where you are right now, but those things that, that you didn't allow to take root in you,
right.
You know what I'm saying? But because of that has made you the successful person that you are and moved into that, and what reason you didn't allow that. I know Donald can share some things, and I'm sure we all can, Parnell, you as well. So let's take about 5 minutes to kind of, maybe offer some healing in that aspect. But go ahead, since you started.
And for me, I always talk about wearing a mask. I always was able to show up in places and look like I was okay when I really wasn't. But one of the things that I did as a kid, and this was my, I guess, survival mechanism, when harmful, dangerous things would happen in my house, in my mind, I would go to a place that I made it appear like that didn't happen, like it was a TV show or a movie that it didn't really happen, because that was the only way I could cope with it, because nobody was talking about it in my house. So it was easy for me to act like my dad didn't really just beat my mom, or that my dad wasn't sitting in the kitchen table shooting heroin in his arm. I had to make it in my mind appear as though that didn't really happen. And the way that manifested for me is that when I got to college, I started having panic attack and anxiety. I'm like, like panic attacks where it felt like I wasn't really there. It was like I felt like I was on. One time I had a bad experience with drugs, and I think it was laced with something. And that experience felt like felt like a dream, like I wasn't really there. And so I started having these panic attacks where it felt like I wasn't really present. And I didn't even know how to explain it. And I started reading books trying to understand what was going on with me because I thought I was going crazy. But what I learned about going crazy, if you think you're going crazy, you ain't going crazy.
Okay.
Because people who are going crazy, they don't know. They don't even think that they're going crazy. But I was trying to figure out, why am I having these panic attacks and anxiety? And I didn't want to talk to anybody about it because I didn't want to feel like something was wrong with me.
Right.
And because that would be, the question, well, what's wrong with you? And again, wanting to gain other people's approval and acceptance, saying that I'm having anxiety and panic, that is not going to go far in terms of gaining acceptance.
Right.
So I just suffered in silence, like most Black men who've come through traumatic experience do. I just suffered in silence, and it manifested in, these panic attack and anxieties that I had for a long time. And if I'm not careful, I can have one, present day.
Okay. How did you find? I know. Go ahead. How did you find yourself in a place of kind of overcoming that? At the end of the day, what do you do? I don't hate to use the term suppress, because suppress is kind of pushing it down. How did you find a way to deal with it? So that that the panic attack is coming on. You reposition. How do you reposition yourself with that?
So now, like, if I have one, because I don't say I've overcome that,
Okay.
because I still can have experiences where, like, I'll feel that anxiety and I'll have that same experience of not feeling present. But now, because I'm so used to it, I understand what's happening. And what I do is I just try to center myself and I breathe in deeply, because it used to scare me. I used to panic when that would happen.
Okay.
But now, I just kind of, I know what's going on, and I know it's going to pass. But it used to be really, really scary when it was happening, because, again, I thought I was going crazy. I'm like, what is happening?
Wow. Go ahead, Parnell.
Well, it's just funny. What's hitting me was when Harold, we talked about where people don't want to talk about that because they feel they're going to lose that acceptance. The reverse always ends up happening. When someone comes out and says, hey, I'm experiencing this, all of a sudden there's this point like, oh my God, I'm so glad you said something. I thought I was the only one. And all of a sudden there's this whole community of people who is just like going, oh my God, okay, you said something, now I say something, then 10 other people say something. And now it's become a thing like, okay, this is not just me. I'm not alone in this. And you find this overwhelming support system now that has come from just being able to make yourself vulnerable. And to admit that what you see here that looks all perfect and wonderful and glowing, behind all that is a whole production going on, so that you don't see the fear and you don't see the pain and you don't see the doubt that I'm actually struggling with. And so what happened every time I see when people let that out, what they find waiting for them is part of the healing process to dealing with all those things that they had been worried about, whether it's just like, hey, I was going through this too. I belong to this group, or I saw this therapist, or I changed up my diet, or whatever. All these different ways that we can now find that unless you let people know what you're going through, they don't know how to help you and support you, because they think everything is fine. Oh, everything's fine. He don't need nothing. She don't need nothing. With what Will is doing with making himself vulnerable and talking about that, like, oh, you're $20 million a picture movie man, the family and all this is going on. Everything's fine with you. And what happens so often is like, that's all for protection. That's all about protecting this little boy who was scared because his father was abusive, or whatever the situation may have been. That when we get to see who you really are, strip away all that stuff, all the means, and just be like who you are as the essence, as a person, people respond to you better. And even though Will Smith has got a lot of love and support, I think he's gonna watch that grow with so many people feel a connection because they've been in that same situation. It's not this whole thing, Will's over there and I'm down over here. Me. It's people always kind of think that, oh, when you got all the money in the world, you're happy. And it's like, no. Some of the richest people in the world are miserable because they haven't dealt with the stuff that's going on here.
So true.
I think Will Smith is one of the bravest people that in these times, especially as a man of color, I think he's one of the bravest I think he is brave enough to stand in his truth. Because let me tell you something, if you really watch the reports that are going out about the book, about his wife and all this stuff, there's a I hate to say it, but there's a wave of misogyny that is going on right now. And the fact that if you see posts about how Jada is the man of the family and he's now the wife, because he has issues, because they have put their stuff on the table to tell couples who are probably going through the same thing that they've been going through for years about their issues, about their situations with their sex life, with their indiscretions, with the children, with all the transparent. They're being more transparent out here, and you have people who are just not getting the message. The message is out there for you to obtain from people who are telling you that we have these issues, regardless of the houses, the monies, the careers, the movies, whatever. We have issues, and we know if we have issues, y'all have issues. Right. But you have people in this world, like you say, who have a mask. They go walking in this world with a mask on their face because they're too scared and too chicken to say, I have a problem. But you have this man for years who sat down with a woman that he had beef with Fresh Prince. What's her name? Who played
Janet Hubert.
That moment was a very telling moment, because we had a discussion about this a long time ago about Monique and the situation. And I always used to say, why can't people just come to the table and get their grievance out and let it be where it needs to be? Right. And that moment, he proved to me that this is what it is to be an upstanding citizen of humanity. At this point, we are so busy holding on grudges, and we're so scared to say, you know what, I have a grudge. This was my grudge, and this is the problem. And can you forgive me for being the way I was back in the day? We have and it's so sad that it's not only out there in our workplaces, it's not only out there and in politics, it's in our homes. Right. You have parents that won't even talk to their children. Right. Because there's some crazy grievance that they cannot come to the table and say, you know what, I apologize. If I said something that detrimented or stunted your process in your growth as a child, I apologize. Please forgive me. But I'm just saying, tell your story, I'm just, to be honest with you. And this is just, I'm just putting it out there. It's not easy growing up in a situation where I had to figure things out for myself, as not only as a Black man, but also as a Black gay man. You have to figure some things out. You have to grow. You have to change. You have to evolve, because if you don't, you will go through life of depression, anxiety, all types of craziness, because you believe that there's a force that's out there against you for existing. And for years, I thought there was a force out there for me, against me to just exist, to try. And even to this day, I'm still having to breathe too, Harold. I'm having to take deep breaths, because that's still that part of my mind is still there, where I feel like I'm going through a chemical a chemical reaction of depression. Let's just say it like that. It's a chemical reaction, and you can just sit there and you can feel it just drain all over your body. It's like a numbness. It's like almost like a sleeping paralysis to me. Wow. Because I can sit there and I feel it, and I can feel, I'm like, oh my God, what is this going on? Why do I feel like this? Why? What can I? And sometimes, like I have to breathe. Sometimes I have to listen to some music. I sometimes have to try to force myself out of that line of thinking, but it is a situation that is still in me. And I'm just being real with y'all. It's something I'm still working through. Even in my 30s, I'm working through that. So,
and you guys have said a lot. I mean, just this scope of everything, right here, traumatic situations, I think, affect, us all in so many different ways. It does. I've shared my story with you guys, before, you know, and now that we talk about this, you think about the mask that you create for safety reasons, you know, I mean, to keep yourself in this particular area, you don't realize that you put yourself in that mask.
Oh yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you don't realize you're pulling it down, you know, at the end of the day, because it's behind it. It's like, I'm safe right now, you know? And I think about how, I think I shared on the show when we were doing the Man Show that my situation when I found out that my quote unquote birth mom, it's too long of a story to get into the details about that, but when I found out that she had made a statement in recent days that she should have aborted me, versus then to find out who I was, oh my God. You know, but and I had to think about that, and I said, you know, what the fuck, you know what I'm saying? What is that? You know, that was the like kind of your initial point, you know, about that. But then again, you know, I took your approach, Cheryl. I took your approach, Tyler. I took your approach, Bruno, and I honestly, you knew right here what happened. You know, I took a step back, and he looked at me, and he's like, how are you dealing with that? You know, I took a step back, and I said, you know what? I have to realize that the importance of what I was put on this planet to do. Okay, you just happen to be the piece of meat that I had to come through.
God,
okay.
a piece of meat.
The piece of meat.
Oh my!
I had to come through to be the blessing to the people on this planet that I need to be. Okay, because I started to say something else. All right. But meat was the closest thing to that I wanted.
The vessel.
Thank you. The vessel. All right. but I had to reposition myself, you know, because I mean, I really felt a side of anger, you know, and for you to not even understand my greatness, you know, I mean, and what my greatness was put on this planet to do, and for you to make a statement like that because you see it one way and you see it from a religious cult perspective of life, you know, at the end of the day, Jehovah's Witness. Okay, so you know, and or did I call you out? I'm sorry, I meant to, but but you know, and so you know, if you want to put yourself in this cultist mentality to escape your problems. And rather than go ahead and deal with your problems all along, then you go right ahead and do that. All right. At the end of the day, you know, I'm gonna get off the religious platform right now. But okay.
I kind of started that, but
but let's just now that I open up that Pandora's box just for a second. I ain't gonna get in it too deep, y'all. I ain't gonna start preaching. All right.
And then cursing.
Yeah, cursing exactly. You know. But at the end of the day, now here's the thing about how the religious platform kind of integrates into what we're talking about is that there's always this cloud within a religious setting that you cannot deal with your personal feelings. Okay, number one, the church always went around to you talking about it's the devil. Okay, F the devil. Okay, at the end of the day, all right, that's a creative force that you want to put yourself in that mindset, but not holding yourself accountable for your own responsibility. All right. So stop blaming some force that's already been defeated. I'm not gonna preach. I'm gonna put myself in. All right. Okay. So, but the thing about it is that rather than speaking to and helping two people understand where they are and clearly listening to their situations and what they're going through, like Jesus did. All right, but I'm not gonna preach. But you know, I'm gonna put it this way: Jesus was a great listener and less of a talker. Okay, amen. Let the church say amen. All right.
He didn't overtalk his audience.
Exactly.
He only gave you what you needed to hear, and he went about his business. Some people just overtalk the message. They overdo the message.
Y'all talking about me being presented right there.
Beat you down with it. They try to beat you down with the message.
Exactly.
They overdo it.
But the root, but the root of it all here is that if you're in that setting or that's your mindset, then you ought to know that you have the health source for people have traumatic experiences. Okay, you speak life, love, and happiness to people that are in that, and you be there and support them through that, and not come to them with another layer of mask. But here's the thing: when you're not whole, okay, when you're coming in that position, you're not whole. That the spirituality that you should operate never resonates anyway. Okay, so you haven't dealt with your own traumatic situations. Okay, at the end of the day. So, but then again, you mask it up by putting the Bible scriptures and all that, and dust and sand and water and oil over everything. Okay, and it doesn't change it because you're not changed. Well, at the end of that,
you know what's so funny, and I'm going to let y'all speak to Harold Purnell to this as well. But you know, it's always been said that religion is a form of control of any society.
True. Absolutely.
It's a form of control, a control of emotion, a control of sexuality, a control of what they it's patriarchy too.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if you go to any type of organization or any type of church, the head of the household should be the man, but I never went to any church growing up where I saw a lot of men in the church.
No.
So I'm just, but but to be honest with you though, I have to say this though, even in those situations, I have seen the way business is done in that realm of life, and it's not very healthy.
No.
It's not a healthy institution to go to for any type of help unless you have somebody, a teacher, who's willing to put himself on the docket. I don't like people who speak the word and who don't put themselves on the docket along with their people, along with their congregation, because we're all human in this flesh. We're we all have issues. But if you're going to get up there and speak at anybody's pulpit and tell me that I'm a sinner, but you are living a very saved life, then we're gonna have some issues, because I cannot relate to your story in your life. You have issues. You just go behind and you close the door and you just don't let nobody know.
Well, exactly what we're talking about.
And then you get paid,
because you
hide those issues.
Exactly. You come into a platform with a mask on.
Amen. It's
you come into a platform with a mask on, so it's your responsibility to get this mask up at all costs. Because if people truly see you, either they're going to stay with you or they're going to leave. They're going to leave, and you don't want to risk the fact of them leaving at the end of the day, because they go your house note, Chicago, and everything else that's involved. All right, so you have to continue this facade. But here's the thing, and we've said this all along. I really believe at this particular point in time that there is a day of reckoning that is happening in the church community. Okay, it is. All right, there's a lot of hidden exposures, a lot of things like that are going on, and these walls have to come down in order for true spirituality to come forth. Okay, I'm not talking about religion, and I'm not talking about Christianity. I'm talking about true spirituality, which the four of us right here are a representation of true spirituality. At the end of the day,
mean another curtain is going to have to rip?
Well,
again,
okay. Well,
that's what happened when Christ, died. The curtain ripped. So, do you think another curtain?
Well, I believe the curtain is ripping right now. I mean, at the end of the day, it started at the bottom and it's tearing open. If you want to put it in that perspective, okay, it really is. It's ripping because the exposure behind the curtain is being put out there, at the end of the day. And people are really realizing that there is a great falling away from what as scripture said, will be in the last days, but not in the last days, but in the last day, there will be a great falling away. They talk about the falling away of people that was outside church. No, the falling away is in the church. Okay. People are falling away from the church. At the end of the day, because it's not a lifeline. It's not a place there for people with traumatic experiences to come and be accepted into peace and love to help them move from another place. It's not there because you come in, you get criticized from the beginning. Well, you can't have these problems because obviously you're tuning over to another spirit. Okay, you're not operating in the right manner. All these other, you know what I'm saying? So and all this just jargon that throws out at you to make them feel like that they're on this platform where you're not even obtainable because you come to be transparent. The only way that the church, in my opinion, and which is I think really collectively true, okay, that the church will rise to a place where it needs to be is it becomes completely transparent. Okay, and you got to get rid of the to become transparent at the end of the day, okay? Because there's a lot of crap that stand in pulpits every Sunday saying these things that shouldn't be saying. I said I won't get on this tonight, but I'm saying on it. But anyway, we need to move on with another conversation.
Stay on it, Parnell. What you got to say? I want to hear them say.
Parnell is my John, my Peter, and my Thomas. Okay. Go ahead, Parnell.
But you know what? It's so interesting because I think social media and the internet has really helped to pull the veil back to a lot of the atrocities that occur in the church. Yes. That we wouldn't otherwise hear about or know about. And I think, I think about like some of the scandals with some of these mega preachers that has been revealed and preachers who have spoken against things that they themselves are participating in, which has been, really widespread. And I think that social media and just the internet and folks being able to get information, has really helped to pull that veil back.
That's true. So true. Go ahead, Parnell. I knew you had a point.
It's all this stuff is just so interesting. And I'm glad that these conversations are being had because it's stuff that's been talked about for generations, but everybody wanted to protect the image of what the church is and not addressing the reality of what's going on in here. I know Archbishop Carvin used to always say, the church is the spiritual hospital for the sick.
Right.
But what we got a lot of people who are not qualified to be the doctors leading these churches, because, if you're going to be counseling couples on marriage, but yet you're on your third or fourth.
Well, hello.
It's like, well, maybe you're not the one to be telling people. But then again, sometimes people who aren't successful personally are good at seeing it through the third person. But a lot of times what's happening, there are people who are coming with very real problems where just quoting a scripture at them doesn't help them solve the problem.
Right.
What's it?
Some of these pastors that hide.
Yes, exactly, Susan.
That's right.
And it is that thing of keeping the humanity of this person, which I think even goes back to how we think about Jesus. That some people, I think there were two schools of thought. One was really trying to humanize Jesus, and the other one thought, well, that's not interesting enough unless we put all this around it. There's nothing to believe. And I know there's still all these stories about Jesus that from those missing parts of his life that we don't know. He just disappears and comes back as an adult.
Especially from the Broadway Jesus Superstar.
Not Jesus Superstar.
I got a little bit of my story from that Broadway play.
Honestly, I think in some cases Andrew Lloyd Webber had a very, very clear picture of what happened in between. Okay, because he told it like, hey, okay, maybe this did happen in between. But of course, when you bring something up that could happen, then you get this whole host of people, which was probably one of the most ridiculed plays by the church because it's perception, of what it presents, in and of itself. But they never get to the fact of how the humanity of healing happened at the end of that whole thing. They're so worried about, he's gonna lose credibility, in the process of this. Well, speaking of plays, oh my gosh, you guys, if you haven't seen the Book of Mormon, all right. All right.
Now you went there.
You talk about losing the total bit of credibility at the end of the day. Really, honestly, that's a clear representation of what the church act like, but it needs to be dealt with in the same manner. All right. I mean, really, at the end of the day, if you hadn't seen the Book of Mormon, the musical, you need to go. All right. Now you talking about us tonight. You need to really put your seatbelt on. Okay. I mean, for real. But it's really good and it's really in your face, but it also makes you think. One point about that, and we got a couple more topics before we wrap it up tonight. But the one thing about that what happened with the Book of Mormon is that the Mormon church actually embraced what they had did when they made this, and it has made them become more successful as a worship, kind of group of people, because they really realized that how much they had fought that they were. In the process. Now they got a lot of other issues that they need to work through as well, and in their practices. But they did. They actually looked at what the Book of Mormon was saying and saying about them, and said, "We really do act like this," and they took accountability for it. So I have to give them credit for that. Now they got to get all that paganism and all that other stuff that they do, but but at least they did take the step, saying that, wow, this has been so in our face, that they need to make some changes. But anyway,
in Utaka City.
Oh yeah.
but JB, if you take out all the paganism, you have no religion. But they had that conversation.
See, okay, all right. But see, that was the word I was waiting for. Thank you, Bardell.
That praise dance, y'all.
Okay.
Are you trying to say that we should be praise dance?
Yes, indeed. But we won't go there. Okay, we won't go there because we're gonna really open up. And y'all gonna get me started. I don't want to get started now.
I know we only got 5 more minutes left.
I want to get started but I do want to move on real quick to talk about Miss Britney Spears. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Glad for her. Okay. But I'm gonna give her a slap on the butt right now. Okay. All right. Okay.
Oh, you're gonna give her a slap on the butt.
Slap on the butt. Okay. All right.
HR.
Right.
I don't know. Okay. I mean,
Reason I'm gonna give it a slap on the ass. All right, I'm just gonna be nice about it. Okay, because my opinion. All right, and Brittany, I hope you listen. All right, you can come on the show and talk about it if you want to. We're glad to have you.
Nice.
Okay,
Yes.
you can come on the show and talk about it. Right, but I really did, honestly, and from a deep part of me, all of the support, that all these people put out there. Okay, and all these people standing in front of the courtyards and all this type of stuff, which I think is a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
But for you not to show up. You could have rolled up in a limousine and got up out of the sunroof with a limousine, waved at these folks and say, "Look, I really thank you for your support and what you put, what you've been here by my side in." But no, you tweeted. No, girl.
You know what?
No, girl.
What happened? Wait a minute. What happened? I don't know what happened. What happened?
Well, I'll let you explain that part of it. But so. I'm just saying, and I'm just really saying, I'm not just saying to be careful of just saying. I think, Brittany, you're out of line. This is your slap on the ass, okay? I really think you are out of line, not necessarily showing your face, okay, around these people, and then you're going to tweet something out from whether you're in an island, where you're over in Beverly Hills, where you live, out in Calabasas, out here, wherever your house is. Okay, but you did not think enough of these people that stood out in the hot sun, okay, on regular basis to seeing you get liberated from the trauma that you've been in. But go ahead.
But I was gonna say because of that, I have more respect for Michael Jackson during that first day of his trial when he got up on that vehicle and he waved his fans down because they gave him so much hell about that.
Right.
How far do you need for me to go back with this story, Harold? Do you need for me to how far back do you remember Britney Spears' career? Do you remember her cutting her hair?
No, I'm just wondering what happened with the incident that JB is talking about.
Okay. Well, there's been a Free Britney movement going on.
Yeah.
And because of it, now that they have freed her of her conservatorship, the situation that he's complaining about is the fact that she did not go literally down to the courthouse and thank her fans who've been pulling weight of getting her out of her conservatorship. Because what happened was, in the midst of that situation, a lot of her fans were worried about her well-being, worried about what was going on in her situation, and what what was this conservatorship about, and the fact that for years people been starting up, movement, starting GoFundMe accounts to help her get her stuff to, get this going, and documentaries that were put out there to help get the information out there about this girl's situation within her family and the fact that she didn't control her life. Gotcha. That now at this point in her life, she is free of it, but she did not take the opportunity to go down there and sing and dance for those people who really helped her get out of a situation that held her handicapped for years.
Right.
Gotcha.
Just wait for the sunroof.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. From the sunroof, at least do that. Or hell, at this point, you need to be having a free damn concert down at the Hollywood Bowl and invite these people to come in. I mean, for real.
And it better be live.
Okay.
We're all huffing and puffing and kicking and sweating and all of it for your freedom.
Go ahead, part of it before we wrap it up real fast.
Like, Britney don't sing live.
Well, give us a backtrack.
All the time.
We'll take that.
But I know we get out of it. I just want to I know we just celebrated Veterans Day, so thank you to all of our veterans for your service to our country. We really appreciate that.
Yes.
And for those who are serving today, thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for bringing that up. We definitely appreciate that. Harold, did you have anything you want to add real quick?
Well, just when we talk about trauma, I just want people to know that they're not alone. You're not alone. Good. Absolutely.
Just to piggyback off what Harold said, this, with the situation we just talked about Britney, we just talked about Will Smith. Yes, look to those situations as a way of seeing that and saying to yourself, you know what? I see the message. Okay, now it's time for me to make an evolution.
Wow.
Come on,
wow.
Now it's
really
time
good.
For me to
really
evolve.
good. Yes. Yeah, I like that.
Yes.
Definitely. I mean, guys, out of everything, you just kind of summed it up really beautifully tonight, in terms of what we talked about. It's one thing I love about, this show, and us together and collectively, even as our guests, that are here. It's, you may think sometimes the Truth Behind the Truth goes way over to the left or way over to the right or whatever the case may be, but there's a message in the left, there's a message in the right, and then there's a message in the center, and there's a message when we bring it back home. And the thing is that what you take from it, what you pick up from it, is helping you grow into your authenticity as the individual that you created.
Look to them, look to yourself.
Right. Well,
look within and I wanted to rephrase that because I think I don't want people to take that the wrong way of looking at these, people.
No.
But look to yourself, look within yourself, and say, I need to make a change, like Man in the Mirror.
Right. Exactly.
Michael Jackson.
Exactly.
That's a great way to end that.
Exactly. And in that, so, and as I was saying, so it just brings this all together as a whole, to really to understand what needs to be said about us as individuals. You are a spiritual being, and having. Here's the thing: you're a spiritual being having an earthly experience in a mortal body. Amen. Okay, that's the best way to look at it. So if you allow your spiritual being to be the one that improvises your whole idea, then you're traumatic. Then you know how to suppress your traumatic incidents. You know how to put them in this perspective place so that you don't have the panic attacks. So you don't have all these other type of things that come about, in your life, because you let that spiritual man be the force within you. Okay, what Star Wars says, let the force be with you. You know what I'm saying? Let the force that's in you be the guide that carries you through and it helps you triumph over all these situations when they do come up. Because we unfortunately we can't go back and ask people to apologize. It would be nice, at the end of the day, it's just like we have to kind of forgive and mostly forget. I won't say try to forget, but mostly forget, and allow our strength that is in us to help us and propel us, to keep us moving forward.
Pernell, your mentor Mary Wilson was that way too. I just brought that up because I thought about that when I'm watching a YouTube video about the book Miss Ross, and I thought about Mary Wilson when the lady was breaking down the story of the Supreme. And I said, when you said forgive and forget, I thought about Mary Wilson. Like I thought about that. Well, that was just very random. I'm sorry, people. That was very random.
But you made a point about that. It just we've heard it all your life. Forgive and forget. Forget. It's a hard task, but there's some truth in it. At the end, there's some truth behind that truth, of how to do that. But it's how you learn to position yourself be able to do that. But anyway, guys, we thank you so much once again for tuning into the truth behind the truth. And I'm sure you found out that we've exposed another layer of truth behind the truth. Now, how you make that your truth is up to you. How you become free, how you become authentic, how did you know that you're enough, and above all, not making people comfortable with your damn life. Okay, at the end of the day, because that's all about your authenticity. You be comfortable with your own life and appreciate it and celebrate who you are at the end of the day. Guys, thank you once again for tuning into the Truth Behind the Truth tonight. We will be back next week, same place, same time, same station. All right, right here, enjoying you guys and bringing you such great information in life. As you can get me the name of the young lady that will be with us next week. Anyway, look for the postings and think for the beautiful young lady that's going to be with us next week for the first time on the show, talking about how her life has evolved and how she found her authenticity becoming through being a punk rocker. It's going to be a very, very interesting conversation. She wrote a book about it. So very, very powerful tonight. Guys, love y'all. Good to see you always in front of the camera. All right. Have a powerful night. Thanks for tuning into what? The truth behind the truth. Good night, y'all.
See y'all next week.
All right.
Yes.